Did you know that the nucleotide sequence of DNA can be converted into music? In 1986, the Japanese geneticist Susumo Ohno discovered DNA music by converting the nucleotide bases G, T, C, and A to the musical notes A, C, G, and D, respectively. This intriguing revelation led to the question, if DNA can be translated into music, can music, in turn, affect or change our DNA? Sound, as we now know, possesses mass and has the ability to move matter. By delving into the study of cymatics and exploring the potential effects of music on DNA, we can begin to uncover the possibility of utilizing music as a healing tool. Susumu Ohno's groundbreaking research in translating DNA sequences into melodious compositions opened a door to a realm of unexplored possibilities. By associating specific musical notes with nucleotide bases, Ohno revealed the inherent musicality encoded within our genetic blueprint. This discovery not only ignited fascination, but also prompted profound questions about the reciprocal relationship between DNA and music. If DNA, the fundamental blueprint of life, can be transformed into music, what potential influence could music have on our genetic code? Ohno's approach of converting DNA into harmonious melodies highlighted the underlying connection between the complex language of genetics and the universal language of music. DNA, consisting of 4 nucleotide bases, adenine, A, cytosine, C, guanine, G, and thymine, T, can be seen as a symphony of genetic information. Each base holds a distinct role in determining the genetic instructions that shape an organism. By associating musical notes with these nucleotide bases, Ohno unveiled a profound interplay between the scientific and artistic domains. The translation process not only created beautiful compositions, but also provided insights into the inherent musicality within our genetic code. This revelation sparked a deep curiosity about the reciprocal relationship between DNA and music, whether music, in turn, could influence or impact our genetic makeup. Considering the intricate nature of DNA and the complexity of musical compositions, one might ponder the potential effects music can have on our genetic code. Music, as a powerful medium that evokes emotions, has long been recognized for its capacity to elicit physiological and psychological responses in individuals. It can ignite joy, calmness, excitement, or introspection, transcending language and cultural barriers. If music has the ability to affect our emotions and well-being, could it also have a tangible impact on our DNA? While scientific evidence in this area is still emerging, preliminary studies suggest that music may indeed have the potential to influence genetic expression and cellular processes. The field of epigenetics explores the factors beyond DNA sequence that can influence gene expression. It acknowledges that external factors, such as environmental stimuli and lifestyle choices, can modify the way genes are expressed. Sound, as a form of stimulus, may also be capable of triggering epigenetic changes within our cells. Furthermore, recent research has shown that sound waves can affect cellular activity. For instance, specific frequencies have been found to stimulate or inhibit the growth of cells, influence protein synthesis, and even modulate the release of neurotransmitters. These findings suggest that music, as a combination of harmonious frequencies, could potentially interact with our cellular processes, including DNA-related mechanisms. The field of cymatics offers a captivating perspective on the relationship between sound, vibrations, and the formation of intricate geometric patterns in various substances. By studying the visual representations of sound waves in materials like sand or water, researchers have made remarkable discoveries about the vibrational energy emitted by sound. This exploration into the realm of cymatics raises intriguing questions about the potential impact of music, which consists of complex sound waves, on the human body, including our DNA. Cymatics has revealed that specific sound frequencies can generate mesmerizing patterns in matter. As sound waves travel through a medium, they cause the particles within that medium to vibrate. These vibrations, when organized and coordinated, manifest as intricate geometric shapes that can be observed and studied. The notion that sound waves have the power to visibly change matter leads us to consider the possibility that music, with its rich and intricate collection of sound waves, may possess the ability to influence not only our physical surroundings, but also the very essence of our being, our DNA. When we listen to music, we experience a symphony of different frequencies and harmonies. Each musical note corresponds to a specific frequency and wavelength, creating a complex tapestry of sound. These musical vibrations, just like any other sound waves, have the potential to interact with our bodies at a fundamental level. Within our bodies, DNA serves as the blueprint for life, containing the genetic instructions that shape who we are. It is composed of nucleotide bases, and each base has its own vibrational properties. Given that sound waves can affect the vibrational patterns in matter, it is not far-fetched to hypothesize that music, as a collection of intricate sound waves, might influence the vibrational state of our DNA. The potential influence of music on DNA brings to mind the concept of resonance. Resonance occurs when two objects share similar frequencies, causing one object to vibrate in response to the vibrations of the other. It is possible that the resonant frequencies present in music could interact with the vibrational frequencies of our DNA, creating a harmonious resonance within our cells. If music has the power to influence the vibrational state of our DNA, it could potentially impact gene expression, cellular processes, and ultimately, our overall well-being. This opens up a new realm of possibilities for utilizing music as a therapeutic tool, capable of restoring balance and promoting healing at a fundamental level. The exploration of sound and vibration on the human body has been the subject of numerous studies. One fascinating area of investigation is sound therapy, which has demonstrated its ability to promote relaxation, reduce stress, and enhance overall well-being. It has been observed that the resonant frequencies emitted by various musical instruments can stimulate different physiological responses in individuals, highlighting the profound influence that sound and vibration can have on our bodies. When considering the impact of sound and vibration on DNA, it is crucial to recognize that DNA is not simply an inert molecule. Rather, it possesses inherent vibrational frequencies that contribute to its functioning. These frequencies play a crucial role in the stability and integrity of our genetic material. Disruptions or disturbances to these frequencies can lead to genetic mutations or alterations, which can have significant consequences for our health and well-being. Given the vibrational nature of DNA, it is plausible to suggest that music, as a powerful source of vibrations, has the potential to interact with our genetic material at a fundamental level. The intricate collection of sound waves in music generates vibrations that can permeate our bodies, reaching deep within our cells. Through this perspective, music could be viewed as a medium capable of resonating with the vibrational frequencies of DNA. The resonant frequencies within music may align with or influence the vibrational frequencies of our genetic material, potentially leading to physiological and even epigenetic changes. Epigenetics, the study of heritable changes in gene expression that do not involve alterations to the DNA sequence, provides a framework to understand how music might impact our DNA. Epigenetic modifications can be influenced by external factors such as environmental stimuli, lifestyle choices, and potentially sound vibrations. By affecting the vibrational frequencies of DNA, music might modulate gene expression, potentially influencing cellular processes and overall physiological responses. This opens up a fascinating realm of inquiry into the potential use of music as a therapeutic tool to promote wellness and restore balance within our bodies. From ancient civilizations to modern times, music has been intertwined with the concept of healing and restoration. Ancient cultures recognized the therapeutic effects of certain melodies and rhythms, utilizing music to promote physical and emotional well-being. In recent years, scientific research has shed light on the physiological impact of music, revealing its potential to influence various bodily functions. Listening to music has been shown to have measurable effects on heart rate, blood pressure, stress hormone levels, and even immune system activity. These findings suggest that music possesses the remarkable ability to interact with our physiological processes, influencing our overall health and well-being. If music can have such a significant impact on these physiological aspects, it is reasonable to speculate that it may also possess the potential to influence our DNA at a molecular level. DNA, as the fundamental blueprint of life, plays a crucial role in determining our genetic makeup and maintaining our cellular processes. The vibrational frequencies present in music may hold the key to its potential influence on DNA. DNA itself possesses inherent vibrational frequencies, and disruptions to these frequencies can result in genetic mutations or imbalances. By aligning specific musical frequencies with the vibrational frequencies of DNA, it is possible that music could restore harmony and balance within our genetic blueprint. Research in the field of bioacoustics suggests that certain frequencies and harmonies can resonate with specific parts of the body. Just as a skilled musician tunes their instrument to produce harmonious sounds, it is conceivable that music, when carefully composed and attuned, could create resonances that interact with the vibrational frequencies of our DNA. The potential healing influence of music on DNA extends beyond the realm of mere speculation. Studies have indicated that music therapy can impact gene expression, altering the activity of genes associated with stress response, inflammation, and immune function. This suggests that music has the ability to initiate epigenetic changes, modifying gene expression patterns without altering the underlying DNA sequence. Furthermore, emerging research in the field of psychoneuroimmunology reveals the intricate connection between mind, body, and the immune system. Music has the capacity to evoke emotional and psychological responses, which can subsequently modulate immune system activity. These immunomodulatory effects may further contribute to the potential healing influence of music on our DNA. One particular frequency that has gained attention is 432 Hz. Proponents of this frequency argue that it possesses a unique resonance with the human body and the natural world, promoting harmony and balance within our DNA. Advocates claim that listening to music tuned to 432 Hz can induce a profound sense of well-being and even facilitate healing at a cellular level. Moreover, sound-based therapies such as isochronic tones and binaural beats offer further opportunities to experience specific frequencies. Isochronic tones are single tones that pulse on and off at specific intervals, while binaural beats involve presenting two slightly different frequencies to each ear, resulting in the perception of a third frequency. These techniques can be utilized to target specific brainwave states and induce desired effects such as relaxation, focus, or enhanced creativity. Solfeggio frequencies are another fascinating aspect of specific frequencies that have gained attention in recent years. These frequencies, including 396 Hz, 417 Hz, 528 Hz, 639 Hz, 741 Hz, and 852 Hz, are believed to have unique properties that resonate with different aspects of our well-being. Each frequency is associated with specific intentions, such as releasing negative energy, facilitating change, promoting DNA repair, enhancing relationships, stimulating intuition, and awakening spiritual connections. To explore and experience the multitude of specific frequencies for different body functions and well-being enhancements, a wide range of resources and programs are available. By clicking the link in the description, you can access a comprehensive program that offers an extensive library of sounds, including isochronic tones, binaural beats, solfeggio frequencies, and more. This program provides a convenient and customizable way to select and immerse yourself in the frequencies that resonate with your intentions and desired outcomes. While the concept of altering DNA through specific frequencies is still an area of ongoing exploration, the potential to influence our well-being at a cellular level is both captivating and inspiring. By utilizing specific frequencies such as 432 Hz and solfeggio frequencies and engaging in sound-based therapies, we have the opportunity to create harmonic resonance within ourselves, potentially promoting positive changes in our DNA and overall health. In conclusion, specific frequencies hold immense potential for altering our DNA and enhancing our holistic well-being. Utilizing resources like the program available through the provided link allows you to explore and access a vast array of sounds. By immersing ourselves in these frequencies, we open the door to the transformative power of sound, potentially unlocking the ability to positively influence our DNA and experience profound well-being.
So they were doing all the time genetic engineering, and they kept saying, well, there's all these cool things that will be possible in 10 or 20 years. And like what? And they're like, well, you could take human skin cells and merge them with octopus DNA, and then, octopus can actually change its color. So you can make a human skin cell be able to change its color and camouflage itself, kind of like the predator or something like that. It's like, wow, that's cool. Or you could take luciferase in this case and put it into any plant you want, and you can make a plant glow in the dark. And so for more than 2 decades, I was aware that these capabilities would be evident at some point. It just really, I was looking for a partnership that would make sense. And so it was a serendipity. I met Ben Lamb, and Ben he's a genius. He's a great guy, a wonderful guy. And he's kind of like me, where he likes doing a little bit of everything. We both like the alien stuff and this thing. And he started all these weird startups, and he's made quite a bit of money from them. And he was just getting started with a startup called Colossal, which I invested in. And Colossal is kind of famous for bringing back the dire wolf, and they're working on the woolly mammoth right now, and it's an amazing company. So Ben and I were talking about, was there a way that we could do something with Colossal in the cryptocurrency space? And this was back in 2021. And as like a side conversation, I mentioned to him, hey, it'd be really cool if we could do glow-in-the-dark plants, and let's think this out. And he's like, I want to do that too. And George Church, the guy that started Colossal with him, was an expert in this area. He wrote all the books on synthetic biology, like Regenesis was one book, and over 1,000 papers and these things. He's like a gigabrain out of Harvard. He had all this technology to basically do this. And it was one of those, like, did we just become best friends? Type of thing. So we're like, we got to start a company. He's like, yeah, shit, we got to start a company. So we ended up starting a company, and we're still running mostly in silent mode. They hate it when I talk about this stuff, but every now and then I'll be like, hey, there's some cool stuff coming. And really what we've been working on is more than just this concept of bioluminescent plants, which is super cool and interesting, but also we've been working on this idea of using synthetic biology to engineer plants to be better adapted for our goals in the environment that they're put in. So let's say that you're in Saudi Arabia and you're building NEOM, you're MBS, and you have this grand vision of like this $1 trillion massive mega city in the middle of damn nowhere, and you want to terraform the entire world. Well, there's only so much you can do with steel and concrete and glass. At some point, you have to use agriculture, and what you'd like to do is reclaim the desert and turn it into a different biome, because who wants to be in a desert? You want to be somewhere interesting. That's why we're out here in Tennessee, and this morning we had breakfast. That place was gorgeous. All this beautiful, lush greenery, everywhere you look. Well, I'd love to see that if I was MBS. And so what if you had a company that understood so well how to modify the ambient environment that it could conceive of plants to do such a thing? Or what if your goal is carbon reduction? You can make plants that sequester enormous amounts of carbon. Or what if your goal is environmental reclamation? Let's say you have a shooting range. What's your number one problem? You're going to accumulate a lot of lead over time, right? And so what if you had plants that seeped it right out of the soil so it doesn't get into the water and sequesters inside the plant? You can do these types of things. So bioluminescence is a really magical thing, because it's one of those, like, you can see it. It's not a hypothetical, like, if I make plants that sequester carbon, oh, that's cool, they sequester carbon. I can't see it. It doesn't really appear to be anything meaningful. But here, it's like, it's just magic. It's something that never existed before, and you can imagine the art of the possible. Glowing cities, glowing golf courses, organic lighting, all these magical, amazing things. So, and the other thing is that once you've mastered that as a platform, then all those other use cases become tractable and useful and easy. Because you now know how to pretty much do anything you want with the organism. And what's cool is the bioluminescence can also be a guide to tell you whether those genes have been taken or not, because you can cross-link them. And you can say, well, if it glows this color, it has this property. If it glows this color, it has this property, or these types of things. So there's a method to the madness, and it gets people instantly interested. And they always say, oh, that's AI, or that's a fantasy, or it's under a black light or something. And then they physically see it, and they say, wow, this is incredible. And so at some point soon, we'll go out of silent mode and actually have a big showing of these types of things and get people very excited about it. But every now and then, when I meet an interesting person, I kind of share it, because people say, wow, the world is moving in kind of a new place. And then they always ask for something. They're like, can you make this plant glow? Or can you do this color? Or wouldn't it be cool if we could decorate this way or do this thing? And then we say, oh, that's a good idea. And you kind of take it and you say, well, maybe we should work on that, or something like that.
I don't know how far you want to dive into this, so I don't want to push, but you had mentioned some early detection systems that these plants could be used
Yeah,
for.
sentinel plants. And so imagine you're a coal miner, and you're in West Virginia or Pennsylvania or something. Like that. Gillette is like one of the coal capitals of the world, but we have these big open pit mines, which are a lot safer. But let's say you're underground, you're a coal miner. What's your number one problem? You're worried about methane, because it naturally leaches off the walls, and you don't smell it. Most people, when they think of natural gas, oh, it smells terrible. Well, it doesn't actually. It's odorless. It smells terrible because after they process it, they put a chemical in it so you can detect it and you can smell it. So if you're a miner in a mine and natural gas is building up, it's a silent killer. It explodes, and so it's terrible. So they have to always detectors, and that's why they had the canary in coal mine, this type of thing. So imagine a plant, a cave moss or something, and it doesn't glow unless there's methane, and when it does, it glows red. It's called a sentinel plant, right? And you can use this for military applications, for industrial applications, for environmental applications, these types of things. And that's the art of the possible. And that's what gets people very excited about this technology. Because then you say, okay, the plant is now an information transmitter about something in my environment. And it does it naturally and organically, and it's just there. And once you have that capability, then what that does for you is it puts you in a position where you are able to kind of ask the people you're working with, what do you want? What would improve safety? What would improve the experience? What would improve the ambiance of where we're at? And then you can design the plants, you can design this biology around that desire. So that's what gets me most excited about it. And what's cool is it's the only time ever where like Hollywood is interested, and restaurants are interested, and casinos are interested, and the Air Force is interested. It's like there's this huge spectrum of people. Mm-hmm. It's a magical company. And I love those magical companies. They just make people want to be part of it. They want to be invested in it. They brag to their friends, like, I am in this coolest company in the whole world. And Colossal is much the same way. Any Ben Lamb company is this way. This is why he's a genius. It's like you invest in Colossal, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm part of that whole Willie Mammoth thing and that whole direwolf thing. You're like, holy shit, that's awesome. Like, tell me more. It's, oh, I can't tell you anything.
Yeah. So cool how we can see remnants of civilizations, and just makes you think, what happened? Like, this is some of the coolest mysteries. And that's what's so cool about working in ancient DNA too, is we can just go to places, get DNA from stuff, and learn something that we never knew before. It's fun.
So you get interested in DNA, you go to Siberia, all that jazz. How do you get started working with a company like Colossal? How does that take place?
All of us working in ancient DNA, we are constantly answering the same question from the media, which is, when are we going to bring dinosaurs back to life?
Because Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Right.
We're so simple. One great movie, and everybody's like, when's that going to happen?
And people actually say that my field was spawned by Jurassic Park, the whole idea that we could get DNA stuff. That's not true. It was actually the other way around. And Michael Crichton, when he wrote the book that became the movie, he credited a lab at Berkeley, Alan Wilson's group, the Extinct Species Study Group, which was the first group to show that you could get DNA in something after it died. That was actually from a quagga, which is a type of zebra. They had
what a
gotten,
cool name.
Yeah, right. Well, in Dutch, in South Africa, they actually say the quagga.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah, it's better that way, but it's kind of bad for the microphone, probably. Gross. Yeah. I think it's the sound they're supposed to make, right?
Oh.
So they sound like that. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway. They showed that you could get DNA from the skin, and everybody was like, that is the coolest thing that I've heard in a long time. That must mean we can bring dinosaurs back to life. And everybody started racing to get the oldest and coolest DNA. And so there were papers in the best journals of science that never published anything that's wrong ever, that said, look, here's dinosaur DNA, and look, here's DNA from a Miocene-aged leaf, and look, here's this, and all of it is crap. We now know. In fact, the first dinosaur DNA sequences that were published, if you took them at the time and you typed them into the internet and you compared them to the earliest of what is today this big repository of all DNA sequences of everything that's ever been sequenced, what came back was a close match to a bird. We now know, because there's more DNA sequences there, that it was a chicken, an exact match to a chicken, and some investigative work found that the excavation team who'd been working on those bones had fried chicken for lunch every day.
So it's chicken contamination.
Yeah, it's like greasy fingers on your dinosaur fossils.
Oh,
and
my
look,
God.
Now we have ancient DNA.
That is hilarious.
So, yeah.
That's how little they knew about DNA. What year was this around?
That would be the early 90s.
The early 90s. And when was DNA first discovered?
Well, the idea of DNA is much older than that, but it was really the idea, what really helped this field along was the invention of PCR. It's an acronym for polymerase chain reaction. It's a way of Kary Mullis, who discovered the idea of PCR while he was high on a road trip, right?
On LSD.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we should all do LSD, I think, because clearly you have your best ideas when you're high. Right?
Some people have great ideas. Some people go kooky. Some people lose their marbles and never come back.
Yeah, I think I probably would not have good ideas on LSD, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Well, I like your scientific exploration mind.
A good scientist always wants to know.
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's a breakthrough waiting behind that little piece of paper.
Probably not, but
Probably not.
But you never know. Anyway, he discovered a way to photocopy DNA to make lots of copies of the same thing, which then made it possible to learn the sequence using the technologies of the day. And that was what made it possible, really, for ancient DNA to take off, was this ability to photo. Because when an animal dies or plant dies, the DNA in the cell starts to get chopped up into smaller and smaller pieces by things like UV, right? We go out in the sun, we put sunscreen on, and that stops the UV from breaking our DNA. But it's not terrible to get some sunlight, as you probably just saw. There was an article out saying, hey, dummies, we need some sunlight in order to make vitamin D. But we have a repair mechanism so that when your DNA breaks, it doesn't stay that way. We evolved this mechanism. But once you're dead, you no longer have the energy for that to work. And so these damaged parts of DNA accumulate. And also things like bacteria and microbes get in there and chew up the DNA to recycle the animal to the next generation or plant or whatever. And so the DNA that we get in an old thing, like a mammoth bone, is really short fragments, like maybe 30 or 40 or 50 letters of DNA long. In comparison, if I were to take a swab from my cheek and sequence that, I could get strings that are hundreds of millions of letters long. This is living DNA. So ancient DNA is in really crap condition. And it's also mixed with stuff. So if I extract DNA from a mammoth, I'll get some mammoth DNA, but I'll get a lot of those microbes that are in there chewing up DNA. I'll probably get some of my DNA because I touched that mammoth bone. I'll get DNA from whoever else touched that thing. This has been a real problem in archaeology because we're trying to get DNA from humans, but we're humans. And so we touch these things and then I don't know if it's my DNA or if that thing DNA.
Even just breathing on it, right?
Yeah, or dropping an eyelash. In my lab at Santa Cruz and in ancient DNA labs around the world, we have these really it's like working in a virus lab where you're scared of everything, but we turn it around. So rather than having the air being sucked in, we're kind of trying to push the air out. We don't want any air coming in. We wear these suits where it looks like we're terrified, with a face mask and hairnet, and we're totally covered, and we bleach everything. It's not because we're afraid of those bones. We're afraid that we're going to get our DNA in that bone, and then we're not going to be able to do our work.
Of course.
XRP 133, the study that nobody talks about. This whole thing of XDNA, some of you guys are aware of it, most are not. We're going to elaborate further into this and get into some real key things about the specific number of 133 and why it matters to you. Let's continue where we left off. So you saw some of those interviews, and for one, you heard about the whole thing of like the woolly mammoth basically being resurrected. Could it be sometime in this decade? Well, more importantly, how about this? Some actual real evidence that actually happened. Have you seen Game of Thrones? Well, maybe you've seen the whole concept of direwolves. Well, check this out for yourself. This is interesting. Believe it or not, we will tie in some real XRP. You got to stick around, see how we basically place it all together. But nonetheless, I want to share this because it's really, really good. And, at the end of the day, people, I don't think, realize the connections. So as you see this is from basically Colossal Biosciences, just like you saw that one lady mentioned in the interview with Joe Rogan. It's this right here. And I was blown away with this. It says, sound on, you're hearing the first howl of a direwolf in over 10,000 years. Meet Romulus and Remus, the world's first de-extinct animals born on October 1st, 2024. Just in case you don't know about this, the direwolf has been extinct for over 10,000 years. These two wolves were brought back from extinction using genetics edits derived from a complete direwolf genome, meticulously reconstructed by Colossal from ancient DNA found in fossils dating back to 11,500 and 72,000 years. My goodness. This moment marks not only a milestone for us as a company, but also a leap forward for science, conservation, and humanity. I mean, some of these years, right? 72,000, I mean, who knows, right? But nonetheless, it's been a very, very long time. So nonetheless, you can read more about this. But before I click on this to show you the video, I want to point out basically the whole thing of a dire wolf, okay? So how big are they actually? Some people ask about that, like basically if a dire wolf, if it was fully grown, what would it look like? Because really, nobody's really seen that, currently speaking. And I'll show you an example of that. And basically, here it is. Let's pull this up on the other screen. And we see here, I mean, it's a little blurry, but my goodness, that'd be a very, very giant wolf, even in comparison to other ones like the gray wolf, the husky, and of course, human being. As I jump back into this, let's play the clip as promised. Here we go. All right, so I find that interesting personally. Maybe some people don't, but the whole concept is understanding that it's about DNA on blockchain, and that sounds spooky to some. For some people, they think it's a big win. We're gonna get into all these things about why there's this study that basically, for the most part, nobody really talks about, right? So let's take you into a little bit more about what I have for you. And I'm going to take you over to Colossal Biosciences because you saw a little bit of that in the intros that played at first. So for one, you see this Wikipedia entry, and it points out that it's an American biotechnological and genetic engineering company working, of course, to de-extinct several extinct animals, including the woolly mammoth, Tasmanian tiger, the northern white rhinoceros, obviously the direwolf, which they already did, and some others, okay? In 2023, it stated that it wants to have the woolly mammoth hybrid calves by 2028. That's only 2 years away, and wants to reintroduce them to the Arctic tundra. All right, you can look more into this if you choose to do so. But again, you saw Beth Shapiro featured with Joe Rogan. That's definitely worth pointing out, right? Absolutely. So the other thing we're going to get into is this, and I think this is where this completely unwinds to why I introduced all of what you saw. And again, how many times have we talked about some of the big connections like NSA? We know about David Schwartz, his NSA background. We know about his patents that he created many, many years ago. Again, think about the whole thing of the Economist magazine. You know, if you look more into the Economist magazine in regard to the Rising Phoenix, it basically says that the person who wrote that remained anonymous. It kind of makes you think that if it was Satoshi originally, right, who wrote that. And, you know, some people feel as though that Satoshi could be more than one person. And some people feel as though that David Schwartz is that person. He, of course, denies that. But, I mean, if anything, what if it was you? Wouldn't you want to maybe possibly deny it? Because if, you know, the government and so on found out who it really was, you never know what could happen. He might just be looking out for the best interests of his life. Who knows? Some other people feel as though it's Craig Wright. In the past, I felt that way. I looked more into it and so on. I kind of feel like he could be. Who knows, right? But nonetheless, we're all trying to find the truth of who is who and so on. So my thing is this. Let's get back on the topic of this and get more into it all. So for one, I thought this was an excellent write-up. This is from Joe B. Packin. Give him a follow. I think I'll do that myself. And basically, he points out this thread, and it's really well written, in my opinion. So it says, backed by abundance of research/data from start, before Bitcoin's white paper, you can link Jed McCaleb, David Schwartz, basically Finney, I think that's a typo that he has there, and the NSA, okay? DARPA, etc. Traced to 1986, 87 patents linked, and basically speaking, you see here elite funding, etc., etc. That's actually Hal Finney. Maybe he spelled it right. I don't know. I have to double check on that, but I know he's referring to Hal. Elite funding, all tied to, of course, BTC, XRP, Ripple, and it says BTC and Maxis and XRP Army feuding all the time. That is true. It's not just Chainlink and Quant, right? Well, all in the same boat entire time. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. You see the roots are the plumbing. Like, how many times have we mentioned this about the plumbing? And on top of that, you see here, basically speaking, the plumbing for the new 21st century economies, the rest of crypto, and again, you know, the tree roots of this, holy you know what, and like you see in the middle, peer-to-peer, Bitcoin, again, all of this, right? So this timeline is 1986, 87, 88. Like it says, crypto beginnings. Okay, don't forget about some of the terminology. And of course, you know, I covered recently Arthur Brito. There's many other people, right? And you see DARPA listed right here. And right next to them, you see the NSA. So here's the thing, right? I do agree with this statement. The roots are the foundational ones. Have fun. Own some of the visible tree. Just make sure you own a part of the roots that are giving it all life. But hey, what do I know? I'm nobody. I'm just talking out loud. Hey, man, You don't know me, but you're more than somebody. Thank you for your information. Do appreciate it. And if anything, we're going to go ahead and share this with everybody. So for one, I want to give a shout out to Vandel Larja, a Black Swan capitalist. If you guys have been following Jesse, he's been, of Apex Crypto Insights. Obviously, he's rubbing elbows with these guys. He's getting invites to some of that. That's awesome. I always basically congratulate the success of people I'm networked with and so on. And, rightfully so. So he had, I believe, a week or two ago, a collaboration with both, I think it was Edo Farina, and actually it was Verson. It wasn't with Vandel, but nonetheless, this clip from Vandel is absolutely profound because it's back to the topic of what we're talking about at hand. And I really want you guys to pay attention to this because, again, he does an excellent job of mentioning some of these things. So he posted this basically about a year ago, and it's still valid. It says, interesting early Ripple investors connected to intelligence agencies. Again, what are we highlighting right now? We're highlighting just that. So this is a minute. Well done to Vandel. Please give Vandel a follow over on his channel. Of course, follow Black Swan Capitalists, highly respected people in the XRP army. We'll play this and we'll be right back. Here we go.
From notable venture capital firms like Andreessen Horowitz and Google Ventures. Some of these.
Let me rewind this a bit. Sorry about that.
Ripple received funding from notable venture capital firms like Andreessen Horowitz and Google Ventures. Some of these firms have historically backed technologies that have attracted interest from government agencies, and there's proof to support that. Now, also several of Ripple's early investors, like Andreessen Horowitz and Pantera Capital, have actually very strong notable ties to government and intelligence networks. For instance, Mark Andreessen, which is the co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz, has served on the Defense Policy Board Advisory Committee, which actually advises the United States Department of Defense. And his firm has actually backed projects connected to DARPA. So these links strongly reflect a broader pattern of Silicon Valley's collaboration with government and defense agencies. And it's public information if you just find it out there.
Well said. If you think about what he just mentioned, back to the whole topic at hand, right, of why we mention or connect specifically things like DARPA. Like you saw basically Charles Hoskinson of Cardano, and he had that interview that you saw basically with who? Sean Ryan on the Sean Ryan show. And if you want to look at the entire video, my goodness, that video was 5 hours and 3.5 minutes. I mean, that's something for those two to just elaborate and go on and on and on about it. So of course you saw that in the intro. You saw the key clips that I put together for you guys. Hopefully you appreciate that. But again, think about even Vandel, right? Recognizing some of that. As we get further into this, now let's take you to some other key things that are important to point out. I'm going to take you over to the XDNA protocol. Again, a lot of you guys are the hardcore XRP enthusiasts or XRPL enthusiasts, ecosystem enthusiasts. You already know about some of this, but again, there's a whole new wave of people who aren't aware of this. So nonetheless, we're going to pull this up and let's see what we have. Well, for one, here is the website, just in case you're interested in some of this stuff. It's DNA protocol. I gave a brief introduction a while back on this topic when I showed an intro with Joe Rogan on another video a while back. Okay. So what you see here, it says join the XDNA pre-sale. A lot of you guys already know about this, so it was not something I necessarily wanted to just put like on a Patreon exclusive, but I may go deeper into this in the future. So check out the Patreon if you want some of that early access on there. Come join the community. But it says by joining our pre-sale, you're not just acquiring tokens, you're becoming part of a decentralized future where individuals have full control over their biological identity. And for the random Yahoo out there who says I'm getting paid to do this, you are simply false on that, sir. But that's okay. God bless you nonetheless. So with that said, we see here, some of the details. The ticker is XDNA, access type public. Of course, pre-sale allocation is 300 million of these. And they have these different stages where 1 XRP will get you 30 XDNA, but it requires a minimum of 100 XRP. There's a maximum buy, et cetera, et cetera. I will obviously get back more into the research side of the outline and tie in so many things and the concept of what you saw in the thumbnail of, XRP 133, like where am I pulling up that term, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, I want to take you over to Their X page, they do have an active X page. Okay, I just want to point that out. They have some pinned comments, but even from February 17th, they have the DNA protocol lab intake, which is Namibia. Enrollment has officially begun in Namibia. Probably not pronouncing that right, apologize. Strengthening DNA's protocols presence across Southern Africa. Certified labs and clinics are being onboarded to anchor genomic identity data on what? The XRPL. A little bit more about DNA protocol. We're going to pull up some other key insights. So this is straight from the website, dnaprotocol.org. It says where DNA meets blockchain. Again, this whole concept of DNA, I didn't want to just do the basic thing of just taking you over to these websites. I want to establish some things. That's something I do. You know, I like the idea of educating people what DNA actually is, for you can understand that before we just throw things at you like, oh, DNA protocol. Okay, well, just figure it out for yourself, you know? So yes, on the XRPL, this is worth looking into, in my humble opinion. What we also see here basically points out they have node synchronization, again, real-time genome and validation and insight, okay? And if anything, there's a lot to the site. Now, again, back to the whole token sale. From what I saw, there's a total of 1 billion, because as we see here, 3, 6, 9 zeros and a 1, that's 1 billion, okay? Like I point out, the total public sale allocation is 300 million of XDNA. The issuer address is to be announced unless they haven't updated this. I don't know. But last I checked, it's still to be announced. Tokenomics, again, 300 million, 30% of that, single round public sale. And again, they have ecosystem research partnerships, 20%. We go to R&D and, you know, lab integrations, etc. Team advisors, 15%, which is about 150 million, which is vested over 24 months. Protocol development, you see here 15%, which is 150 million for the core tech and upgrades, liquidity and centralized exchanges. That's going to take 10%, which is 100 million, as well as some other future listings. They do have staking rewards. That's interesting. 5% for 50 million of, you know, for holder incentives. So some of you guys like to hodl and lock this up and put away. It is what it is. Community airdrops is 5%. There will be 50 million on that. Marketing and growth. There's these stages and phases. I won't get so much into all of this. That's where you should probably do more of your own research, right? The other thing I want to pull up is you're more than welcome to look into the actual technical white paper. I would encourage that. I may further look into it with a fine-tooth comb, but this is more of an intro, so I didn't want to get too super deep on that. But what I do want to get back on track of is recognizing this guy. His name is Ripple I can't even pronounce this. Ripple Zitty. All right, we'll say it like that. Decentralized news platform. Okay, so for one, this is important to read some of these things. Sometimes people don't want me to read this stuff. I think it's interesting, so I'm gonna read it to you. Some people listen on the way to work, you know, taking a break. You may be at home. Hey, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So DNA protocol on the XRPL is a breakthrough because it merges genomics with blockchain. Again, that's why I introduced all of that talk of DNA at the beginning. This solves critical problems in healthcare, data ownership, and biometrics, or bioethics, I should say, not biometrics. And here's how. It says sovereign DNA ownership. Traditionally, genetic data is stored and controlled by labs, hospitals, or corporations, not the individual. DNA protocol flips this by storing hashed genomic data on the XRP ledger, ensuring you own and control your DNA permanently. So you guys know I cover things obviously like Jasmy, I cover things like IOTA, and that's Internet of Things, right? And that's a lot about the whole concept of data protection, data privacy, etc., etc. But this kind of takes it to a whole new level, does it not? When it comes to your own DNA that's enrooted in you. And when we look at the core fundamentals of blockchain, it's like, yeah, you know, there's a lot of DNA references, even with Bitcoin, right? When they first started and so on. So again, let's get back into this, and we see here, basically immutable and tamper-proof records. I mean, I even think of like things like Quant. They're looking to do some of these things, but using XRPL's decentralized infrastructure, every genomic record is immutable, meaning no alteration, no corruption, and no centralized gatekeeping. This ensures trust and long-term utility in research and diagnostics. Number 3, plug and play for healthcare. Hospitals and labs can integrate DNA protocol via smart contracts and encrypted access controls. This allows secure data sharing from diagnosis, treatment, even second opinions without compromising privacy. I mean, if you think about that, that is a major big deal. This is a huge problem, especially here in the United States. If you live here, obviously in the US, you already know about some of these problems. Number 4, real utility, XDNA token. You know, again, a lot of you guys like to be invested into utility-driven projects. Well, there is, again, some of that real utility. And like it says, by holding XDNA, it isn't speculative. It unlocks access to your DNA data, free sample kits, healthcare partnerships, participation in the future bio-data economy. So when this thing grows, obviously, it could be a really, really huge star in the ecosystem for the XRP, right? XRPL, excuse me. We see here number 5, scalable and compliant. Unlike Ethereum, XRPL's low fees, high speed, and growing enterprise support make it ideal, for scaling DNA access across borders while complying with global data laws like HIPAA and GDPR. And that is important to recognize that, because in reality, they can make these claims of all this stuff they're going to do with basically DNA, but if they're not HIPAA compliant, right, that would be an issue. So I'm glad they basically addressed that a little bit. And if anything, I do like the guys' visuals on this. I mean, you see the lady analyzing this and so on. So taking it further into this, we have some more, and I believe it's also from the same guy. And if you're wondering about this, holding XDNA gives you free access, of course, to your genetic data, on-chain storage on the Ripple blockchain, obviously the XRPL, at home or clinic-based DNA collection at no cost. And that's where it's at for me. I mean, I think this is an interesting project to take more of a deeper look into, and that's what we're doing. And interesting to see these concepts of focus, basically, of DNA on blockchain, and more importantly, on the XRPL. And as we take you more into this, Ripple Zitty points out healthcare meets XRPL. It's a $12 trillion industry now tapped. DNA on-chain anchors genomic identity data on the XRP ledger, taking XRPL beyond payments and, of course, into healthcare. I mean, if you think about this, it kind of makes you feel as though, is it really plugged into the XRPL, just like you saw there? Well, yeah. And that's a great visual. All right, we're going to listen to this. This is basically a video, goes into the whole thing of DNA protocol. And again, building decentralized online identity powered by self-sovereign identity, SSI. Years ago, the Quant Network did an article about self-sovereign identity, SSI. So honorable shout out to a platform which is called Checked, which is also ISO TC 307 compliant. They had a piece of Gilbert Verdian specifically highlighting them, I think back in 2022, give or take, about self-sovereign identity. So again, there's some correlation here even with Quant, and of course even Checked. Checked is kind of a slept-on project. It is what it is, but nonetheless, let's get back on topic here, because as we see here, again, this means true ownership of genomic identity, giving users back control of their data, secured and anchored on the XRPL. So listen to this. This is a little over a minute, and we'll jump right back. Here we go.
The next iteration of the World Wide Web, known as Web 3, promises more user empowerment by giving us back control of our data. Simple to say, but how would this actually work? First and foremost, Web 3 users will require their own identity layer to regain ownership of their personal data. Blockchain introduces the possibility of having a decentralized online identity, which users could use chain agnostically across all platforms, also known as self-sovereign identity, or SSI for short. This could serve as the tamper-proof identity layer that gives users control back over their digital footprint. But more importantly, decentralized identity could create a more equal digital playing field by giving back users ownership of their data and by democratizing big data revenue, since large corporations would have to buy personal data directly from the users. Identity is central to our day-to-day interactions and an essential part of human evolution. And as humanity evolves, it's only natural for identity solutions to follow suit.
Yes, well said on that one. Let's get into now the whole thing of 113. Yes, I did promise we get into that. So let's pull this up. And again, I understand some people aren't big fans of gematria. It is what it is. I just look at it like it's the language of math. But, you know, people can agree to disagree. Can't please everybody, right? Let's pull this up, though. Nonetheless, I thought it was interesting. And we see the results in gematria. So for one, this is English and simple gematria. And when we pull up the term, which is basically right here, DNA protocol, we see some interesting things, okay? So for one, the secret code, but more importantly, when I pull up this other stuff, I wanted to point out this, right? So for one, the constant references to simple gematria of 133. So for one, everything, okay? Think about DNA, right? Literally think about this. DNA is in everything. And then it says government, okay? And I'll give you a BIS connector, as in the Bank for International Settlements. Seriously, we're going to make some real sense out of this. And sunflower, okay? And if anything, put emphasis not so much on sun, but the term flower. Okay, all eyes on me. That's funny, you know. Shout out to Tupac, rest in peace, right? But in reality, all eyes on something like this, right? Like especially when it comes to the XRPL. And then over here, 589, right? We understand that's constantly referenced when it comes to Ripple. All right, why do we want to do this? Well, for one, it's the significance of the number 133. It's an angel number. It's a powerful spiritual message urging you to embrace change, trust your intuition, and foster harmony in relationships and career. That's interesting, right? So again, the whole thing of like an awakening. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out, I know some of you guys aren't all on par with some of that, and it is what it is, right? Everybody has their own beliefs and whatnot. But I will tie some key things in that really, really make sense of this, especially with a clip from Brad Garlinghouse, et cetera, et cetera. As I pull up more about this, here's another one. Basically, what is the 133rd day of the year? Basically, it's May 13th. This is the latest accepted revision. Now, I know there's a lot of emphasis on April, like April 20th, right? Why it's always going to be April 20th. But Brad Garlinghouse pointed out basically 90% chance we get clarity by April. Well, could it be right at April? Could things take off like basically maybe the end of April going to May 13th? I don't know. I don't have all the answers on that, but I do find it interesting. If anything, May 13th is the day after my birthday. But nonetheless, the reason I want to point out a little bit more about this is basically speaking, what is so special about the number 133 other than what we shared in gematria? Because it's just it's one thing to just look at a number. It's another thing to see if there's really anything that holds weight with that, right? So for one, as we see here as well, the number 133 is special due to its critical role in defining the standard unit of time, significance to spiritual numerology as a call to embrace change. Think about what's coming up when it comes to this whole concept, ladies and gentlemen, of clarity. Clarity would basically speak volumes when it comes to real change. This real change is what we all been hoping and dreaming for, is it not? So again, to me, when I saw these findings, I was like, you know what? Yeah, there's a crowd of people who don't like this, but there's another crowd. Again, you can please some of the people some of the time, or, you know, most of the people most of the time, but you can't please all the people all of the time, right? So let's just jump back into this. We see here, basically speaking, you got the whole thing of embracing that change. It's a representation of unity. Well, what is basically XRP part of? Well, according to the documents that we shared in numerous videos, the concept of unified ledger. So unified, unity, I mean, call it a stretch, but I think this is all important. Here are some specific reasons 133 is considered special. Scientific definition of time. International System Units uses the hyperfine transition frequency of Caesium-133 atom to define the second. Atomic clocks, which are the most accurate timekeeping devices, rely on the specific isotype. And if anything, what about atomic settlement? Basically, if you guys remember some of my coverage on this, and I'm not the only one who's ever talked about it, but basically atomic settlement means all of the transactions go through or none of them go through, right? Do you find the terminology that's just a stretch? That's just a coincidence? I mean, draw your own conclusions on some of this stuff. On top of that, we see here, angel number. Again, numerology 133 is often interpreted as a message from guardian angels urging individuals to embrace change, take risks. What are we doing in crypto, everybody? I mean, think about this terminology. I think the terminology is absolutely profound. We are embracing change. We are taking risks. If anything, we're taking risks on some of the most high-risk assets out there, are we not? Of course we are. But if anything, I don't know about some of you guys. I've been in some of these market cycles for a few different cycles and so on. And my thing is, if I compare what I have made in crypto compared to what I made in traditional finance, it is literally a night and day difference. And I'm sure some of you guys can attest to some of that as well. On top of that, let's get more into this. This is still pretty interesting. Foster the growth. All right, so basically it's like this. When we get into the whole thing of it all, we will now come to the whole thing of actual documents. Yes, actual documents where basically XRP is mentioned in harmony or harmonization. Now, I could give you countless ones on this, and I don't want to make this video 2 hours long. It's already pretty long, pretty lengthy. Appreciate you guys who listen to some of this stuff. I want to point out this document. This is from Oliver Wyman with JP Morgan, unlocking $120 billion value in what? Cross-border payments, how banks can leverage central bank digital currencies for corporates. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this document. This is a 35-page document. All right, let's jump down to this part. On page 11 to 35, we see, basically speaking, Model 2, bilateral CBDC Lite, entails a bilateral interlinked arrangement where interoperability is built between two CBDC settlement systems under mutually agreed settlement rules. Think about that, the rules, right? And more importantly, it's realizing that under these specific rules, you have, of course, governance. This creates a platform allowing for potential regulatory standardization and harmonization, giving central banks directly hold accounts at each other's respective what? RTGS systems. Again, myself and Jesse in the past did the whole thing of what? Showed you those examples, specifically speaking, where it showed the correspondent banking system, like your SEPAs, your basically even the ones in Japan that we pointed out, basically numerous ones, right? And the orchestration of that, and of course the whole concept of the ILP, the Interledger Protocol, and then more importantly, the whole thing of XRP right in the middle of it for a real-time gross settlement system with the unified ledger as defined from 2020 to 2025, and then even back to 2017. More than welcome to check out some of those videos. Click on the video section. You'll see numerous videos about that, right? Jumping back into this, I want to take you to the other key page of the document, which is also from JP Morgan. Why do I want to do that? Well, for one, here's why. As we zoom in here, we see here from the document, page 8 to 35, talks about some of these specific things. And what I find is really, really profound because it's in Exhibit 3. Okay, again, this topic of unlocking $120 billion value in cross-border payments. We see commercial efforts and central bank initiatives. Do they mention any other cryptocurrency out there other than Ripple? No. The only one they mention as far as crypto that's public, right, because we know about Finale and so on, is Ripple with XRP. And you see here, they highlight, as in JP Morgan, cross-border payment infrastructure intended to use cryptocurrency XRP as the settlement instrument. Now, here's something I have to highlight. Some other, nothing against other content creators. Sometimes they just will skip over it. They'll be like, they'll mention this and boom, I'm gonna hide that. I'm gonna hide that screen. I don't want anybody to see that. You know, if I show that, oh no. We don't do that here. They also highlighted high volatility of XRP leading to limited willingness from banks in using it to facilitate payments. Relatively high costs owing to spreads between fiat and XRP. All right, now let's talk about this. Let's come back into the frame about this. Why would I want to mention this? Well, here's why I want to mention this. If you think about that, yes, XRP does have high volatility. It's had, the whole crypto market's had high volatility, right? But would clarity change it all moving forward? Anybody who's been following all this for years now has made the claims and has had the belief that with real clarity, that will finally stabilize things like XRP moving forward, right? Which obviously, by definition, the central banks need to have to move forward. If they're going to hold it on their balance sheets, it has to be like a stable coin, a global stable coin, does it not? All right, now watch this. Let's take you over to Watch Your Guru. I did this in another video. Shout out to Rob Mass, aka Crypto Future 99, and Black Rue Black. Give those guys a follow. We pointed out this particular video the other day. So you guys probably seen this clip, and that's fine. But it makes sense with all the terminology, especially when it comes to the documents being presented to you. So just in case you haven't seen it, let's play it. And if you have seen it, that's okay. It's only 15 seconds. So basically, what's it say here? Yeah, Brad Garlinghouse says there's a 90% chance crypto market structure legislation will pass by April. And I will state this on the ticker on the bottom from Fox News. It says Ripple CEO 80% chance. So he literally leveraged that an extra 10%. All right, so listen to this. We'll be right back.
Advocate. I think it's now 90% it will pass by the end of April. I had said a couple weeks ago, I thought end of April. At the time, people thought that was a little optimistic. There's a meeting today with a lot of leaders on both sides, the crypto and banking, in the White House.
Right. And then, of course, that whole thing with the White House already happened. We know about that. But nonetheless, think about the terminology. That's the main thing. Jumping more into some of this, I want to point out this particular report. And again, why do I want to point this out? It says the money flower with selected examples. Okay, so why am I providing you guys another example? Because this is what I do. Again, in the gematria, what is one thing that we saw there? We saw basically everything government sunflower, okay? Think about the flower. we pull this up from the Bank for International Settlements, we see that the money flower is with selected examples. Okay, so more importantly, let's blow this up a little bit more. We see in graph B, they point out, specifically speaking, how it fills out the money flower with examples of money from the past, present, and possibly the future. Starting at the center, we have Fed coin. How many times have I been mentioned the Fed coin? If you're brand new to my channel, you haven't seen me mention this. So I'll give you another one. Stick around for that. So as an example of retail CBCC, that's what it used to be called. All right. So the concept, which was proposed by Koning in 2014, has not been endorsed by the Federal Reserve, is for the central bank to create its own cryptocurrency. Think about that. Own cryptocurrency. The currency could be converted both ways to par with the US dollar, and conversion would be managed by the Federal Reserve banks. Instead of having a predetermined supply rule, as in the case with Bitcoin, the supply of Fed coin would, much like cash, increase or decrease depending on the desire of the consumers to hold it. Fed coin would become a third component of the monetary base. Alongside cash and reserves, unlike Bitcoin, Fed coin would not represent a competing private outside money, but would instead be an alternative form of sovereign currency. All right, watch this. This is pretty good. We will now go over to this, and I share this numerous times, but again, I want to respect there's new people here. Federal Reserve's David Andolfado confirmed that clearing and settlement at the Fed can be delegated to a third party like Ripple. Explains the pursuit, and obviously explains Ripple's pursuit of a Fed master account directly to settle central bank money using what? XRP. Minute 33 seconds. Let's play this. Here we go.
That is, people say, how can you trust the Fed to do the bookkeeping? I mean, like I said, my response is, you don't expect the Fed to kind of steal your money. I mean, if the Fed can print all the money at once, it's not going to mess around with your bookkeeping. So we have this big spreadsheet, the blockchain if you want, but it's just managed by the Fed, and it's very cheap, much cheaper than Bitcoin, if you're willing to delegate the responsibility to a third party. But then the downsides to all of that, of course, is you'd actually suppose you didn't want the Fed to be responsible for processing the payments. I mean, suppose, the Fed will likely impose some KYC restrictions on some purchases. They might not process some purchases that you might want to undertake. And so it was at that point that I said, well, we could, if we wanted to, extend the concept one step further. I'm not saying that this is ever going to happen, but just conceptually, you could imagine not FedWire for all, but kind of like a Fed coin, where what the Fed would do is actually just issue these Bitcoin-like objects, but and they would enforce a par exchange rate with the US dollar. That would eliminate the exchange rate volatility. But they could delegate the clearing of these payments to some third party, some sort of Ripple-like protocol, or possibly even Bitcoin. I mean,
more like the Ripple protocol. You're going to really use Bitcoin for real-time gross settlements? I don't think so. And we've seen the central banks literally saying, nope, we're not going to use Bitcoin for that. All right. So for one, a simple search, if you see, yeah, you do see this. So it says here, what is BIS's CBCC, right? Because we know that they have CBDC. Bank for International Settlements, BIS explores central bank cryptocurrencies. Know how it says that, not digital currency. So interesting how they always change it. So like I said, CBCC is now more commonly referred to as central bank digital currencies. To define digital central bank backed money, they categorize these into retail, public use, and wholesale interbank settlements types. BIS focuses on testing these technologies through its innovation hub. So again, interesting that it was originally called central bank cryptocurrencies. That right there should tell you the things that you may not even be aware of on the whole concept of they were definitely exploring that. And if anything, didn't want a lot of attention towards that. That's just my own belief. But if anything, do I have more evidence? And here's the icing on the cake. This is called distrust or speculation. The socioeconomic drivers. 52-page document from the Bank for International Settlements. And oh, by the way, how old is this? Well, basically speaking, it came out 2021, so it's not like it's from 2014, but it says distrust or speculation, the socioeconomic drivers of United States cryptocurrencies investments. All right, let's pull this up. We see here, basically speaking, on page 32 of 52, says we show that these patterns are driven by the impact of socioeconomic features on knowledge about cryptocurrencies, but also on investment decisions conditional on knowledge about this asset class. Among the various cryptocurrencies, owners of Ether, as in Ethereum, and XRP have the highest income and education levels. Jeez. While those owning Litecoin are the least educated. That's pretty mean. Right? Nothing against Litecoin army, right? But nonetheless, that's their survey. It says last we documented that owning a cryptocurrency increases probability on average of owning cryptocurrency in one portfolio the following year by more than 50%. That's definitely interesting. Okay. And again, why point that out? Well, again, the whole thing of XRP, that is worth pointing out. And if anything, understanding why we get into some of the, as the saying goes, the fundamentals of it all. So I'm gonna get into one last key area, which is this. And I talked about the flower. Okay. So I'm gonna pull that up, and you're going to see that in itself because it talks about money flower with selected examples. And again, the whole concept of the Fed coin, like I pointed out, as we drop this down, it's a little bit blurry. You could blame the BIS for this. Again, what do you see right in the middle of it all, right? So it says universally accessible on the far left. It's electronic, central bank issued, peer-to-peer. Notice how it says peer-to-peer. And of course, reserves, right? And right in the middle, it's hard to see. It says basically Fed coin. And again, think about the terminology that you just heard from guys like this right here, just in case you missed it. David Andolfado of who? The Federal Reserve. I find the findings to be absolutely profound. And again, it is what it is, and it's there. So before we wrap this up, I want to give a shout out to our new sponsor. Basically, it's Cypherock. Okay, you guys know I used to promote the Decent wallet quite a bit. I still believe in it, but we do have various channel sponsors and so on. And I know a lot of you guys own basically Canton, which is the CC token, CC coin. I want to point this out. Basically, like it says here, get Cypher X1 free through Canton rewards. Let's zoom in on this real quick. I'm serious about this. This is good stuff. So to say goodbye to loss of crypto, Cypherock X1 is the world's safest hardware wallet with non-custodial inheritance. And what's really cool is when you click on that part where it says get Cypherock X1 free through Canton rewards. Well, that is so cool. Being able to have apparently some Canton airdrop to you. Well, we see here, these rewards are live. Secure your crypto, get rewards in CC tokens. And Cypherock is rewarding early users who take self-custody seriously. By activating your Cypherock's X1 Pro and inviting friends to secure their assets, you can earn CC tokens worth up to $200, potentially making your Cypherock X1 Pro almost free after discounts. And if you click right now on the link that's in the description or the one that's appearing on the end screen card right now, you will see where it will take you to getting a discount. And by clicking on my link, you'll get an extra 17% discount compared to just going straight to their site. And if anything, here's some of it that you see right here. And again, highest rated hardware wallet in the world according to Coin Bureau. I mean, that's their own thoughts, but nonetheless, interesting to see this. And of course, what I love about it is, yeah, you basically can get one close to free, if not around that, by following some of those instructions in regard to earning those rewards with CC. And as you guys know, I cover CC on this channel. Check out the different tiers where one is the most appealing to you. And if anything, be out on the lookout for some Canton videos and some kind of collaborations I have and so on. Use the coupon code, which is Maximus Crypto, when you go to the checkout and ask you for the coupon code. So that's what I have for you guys. Do me a solid if you listen to the entire outline and simply type in this key phrase into the comments, and that is XRP 133. It lets me know who is paying attention and who isn't. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. May the Lord Jesus bless you all. I truly mean that. We'll see you guys on the next video. Over and out. Bye-bye.